Hello, everyone. It's Saturday, and welcome to the next episode of Talkin Trains. Not really a big topic. Well, I mean, depends on who you ask. Not really a big topic today, or not really like an overarching topic that's been going on for a while. Just more of a kind of reaction or a talk about just something recent that happened in the last day or so. So CSX, one of the two East Coast freight railroads, about 2 or 3 days ago, in the early morning, had a pretty big wreck, actually right around here in the city of, or the town of, however big it is, in the town of Tiffin, which is between Willard and Fostoria on the former Baltimore and Ohio main line through Ohio. It was a stack train. It was containers and whatnot that you would see on a truck. And it looks like, from the pictures that I saw, it looks like it was when the train was going through an interlocking. If you don't know what an interlocking is, it's like when you have two sets of train tracks and say you want to get a train from one track to another, you would have to do that at a switch. And normally they're set up every, maybe 10 or so miles or so, where you would have an interlocking, where you would have a set of switches that allows a train to cross over from one track to another track. And it's quite often that when derailments happen, they happen at interlockings. Now, they can happen a host of other ways. They could happen from, Hot Wheels. They could happen from, many other things. But often, if you have a derailment at an interlocking, it's for one of a couple reasons. There really hasn't been anything released from this derailment because, like I said, it was only a few days ago. But the damage looked pretty extensive. From what the article that I read said, it looks like it was going eastbound, so toward Willard, when it derailed, and it was crossing from one track over to two track, or I don't remember which. It looks like it was crossing over, and it looks like a pretty extensive derailment. One of the tracks was completely obliterated. The ties were destroyed, rail was rolled. I think a signal got knocked over at the interlocking, so it was a pretty substantial derailment. Now, of course, there's all the theories about, okay, well, what's the reasoning for the derailment? I'm not going to speculate anything. I have read a couple things that it could have been. I don't know if this is what it is, but a lot of the time, sometimes when derailments occur at interlockings, it's because a set of wheels picks a switch, meaning when a switch on a railroad is aligned a certain way, sometimes it's not aligned cleanly, like debris could get into the switch points and prevent it from cleanly aligning to the next track to cross the train over fully. So it could have been that. Now, oftentimes when these big derailments happen, there are detours that are put in place because, well, CSX still has to run trains. A couple nights ago, there were two detour trains on Norfolk Southern, the other major Class 1 freight railroad of the East Coast. I think there was one out of Chicago, another intermodal stack train, and then I think there was a freight out of Cleveland that crossed over outside of Cleveland onto the NS main. Now, like I said, I looked this up. I could not find any news reports of substantial value that talked at length about what exactly happened. All I know is that in the very early morning, about a couple days ago, I want to say maybe Wednesday or Thursday morning, is when this happened. Now, CSX has been notorious for derailments for many years. I remember growing up thinking that CSX was the railroad that derailed because it was very often that I would hear about CSX derailments as opposed to derailments from any other railroad. But it's not just CSX that has derailments, NS has derailments. So anyway, yeah, that's just a really brief and quick talk about a recent derailment. Derailments happen. Thankfully, this one was non-hazardous. The container cars were not carrying anything hazardous. Did not involve any kind of freight, like chemicals that would cause an issue where people would need to be evacuated, which is good. And I'm glad that's happened because there's been some very, very awful wrecks on CSX and NS, and even on BNSF and Union Pacific. It actually did happen on CSX when I was in college. CSX had a big derailment down near Baltimore that actually there was a tank car that was in the consist of this train. The train hit a garbage truck, might I add. The train hit a garbage truck, and when it went into its emergency application, it caused some of the train cars to derail. And I think there was a tank car of ammonium or something like that, something that very hazardous. And it started to catch fire, and then it exploded. And this was all caught on CCTV video that you could see that was on the side of a building. Thankfully, it wasn't like that. This was a lot less of a derailment, though. Like I said, the infrastructure on the track, the track needs to be completely replaced. I think like I said, they have to replace a signal. So there's going to be a substantial cleanup that I'm pretty sure by the time that you're watching this is already going on. Anyway, that's a little bit about what's going on. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, Talkin Trains. We'll come back next week with something new, hopefully something a little bit more interesting than a CSX derailment. Take care, God bless, and I'll see y'all later.